Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another weekly fighting roundup. And so, if you're new around here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you like it, and let's get straight into it. So, going into this fight, of course, going into this video, of course, going to be starting off with the boxing news. So, Guillemarian is set to fight McCarthy on the 26th of August. McCarthy versus Fernandez, Antwi versus Angulo, Zaran versus Byrne, Reese versus Istrade, and Richmond versus Sampson are fighting on the 15th of July. Williams is set to fight Cash on the 12th of August. I'm very happy to see that is seemingly actually going to happen this time. It's been rearranged a few times now, and hopefully it's on for now. Nick Coulson is rumoured to fight Perez next, and then if she wins that, I believe she's in line to fight Serrano afterwards, so that would make for a very entertaining fight. And it seems like Serrano's up for that as an opponent, because it seems like, I think I heard something, she tweeted something or something about it, and so, it seems like that might actually be ended up happening. But of course, Nick Coulson does have to get through Perez first, and of course it's a step up for herself. James will fight Moorcroft on the 29th of July. Chapman will fight Furtado on the 18th of August. Franklin will fight Wright on the 15th of July. KSI versus Fury is seemingly very close, so hopefully that is going to be the case, and hopefully it does happen and does get announced. And to be fair, a lot of people aren't really liking this fight. I actually do quite like it, to be completely honest, and I think if Fury wins this one, then he should literally just go back to professional boxing and go back into that realm of things. But because I suppose there isn't really any big names I really care about in that YouTube space other than KSI and Jake Paul, and if he's done that, then he's beaten both. So yeah, I think if he wins that one, then he should go back into professional boxing and see how things fare, and if he is at that, he's got that top 15 ranking, if he's deserving of that top 15 ranking. Thurman is set to fight Ugas in August. Marshall may have to fight Green next. Jalolov has joined Top Rank. Boazzi versus Aziz has been agreed apparently, so hopefully that is the case. That would probably be quite an easy fight to make from what it seems, and it seems like it probably is going to be the case. Apataya is set to fight Riakpo on the 23rd of August in Australia. I quite like that fight, to be completely honest. That is a very good fight for both fighters, a very tough fight for both fighters, and the fact that it's bringing another big night to Australia is something I'm also interested in. Clark is set to fight Allen on the 2nd of September. Usyk will fight Dubois on the 26th of August, and that is a huge fight. One that maybe isn't the one that everybody wants. Of course, everybody wants Fury versus Usyk, but I just love watching Usyk fight, and I think it has been too long that he's been out. It's been about a year now, so I'm so glad to see him back, and it is still a tough test, and I respect him for taking the mandatory when he's not really got any other options at the moment, because Fury doesn't really want to fight him, or isn't really willing to give him the fight. So credit to him, it's still a very tough test and a very good fight, and one that I'm very much entertained and excited for. Joshua will fight White on the 12th of August, so another big heavyweight fight. This week's been a good week for the heavyweight division, as of course this has been announced as well, and I think it is a very tough test for Joshua, and of course if he wins this one, then he looks even better, and I suppose the odds go a little bit more in his favour for the Wilder fight. But either way, if he loses this one, then I don't know what it will do for his career. It will really mess it up, and so you got to give him credit for taking this fight. Cameron is set to rematch Taylor November 25th. Stanionis versus Ortiz Jr. was cancelled due to Ortiz's injury/illness. I'm not really entirely sure if it was that illness again or not, but it seems like things aren't looking too good for Ortiz at the moment, and I do feel really bad for him, as I do feel like it's something that's kind of out of his control. And of course Stanionis, I feel bad for him as well, because he's just keep getting this fight taken away from him, and also feel bad for Golden Boy, because they've not really had the best of luck with their fights as of recent, and it's another big fighter off the bill for the moment and seemingly for the foreseeable future, so it's a shame for everybody, to be completely honest. Dickinson is set to fight Dennis on the 19th of August. Cordina is set to fight either Barrett, Kakase or Lara on the 30th of September. Felix is set to rematch Cully on the 25th of November. Wood is set to fight Warrington in Sheffield. Joshua versus Wilder is locked in, so like I said, it seems like that is going to be the case after the Whyte fight. It would probably take a lot for that not to be the case if Joshua wins. Muratalo will fight Torres August 12th. Jack is set to fight Rosansky. Prograis has sent an offer to Haney. Hrgovic is set to fight McKean August 12th. And if that is also the case for that card, if they get that fight and the Felix Cash fight and the possibility of even more big fights on that card, as well as the AJ fight as well, that could be an amazingly good card and definitely like up there with the best one, and it's really deserving then of that pay-per-view price and pay-per-view in general. Wood is set to fight Warrington on the 7th of October. Fury versus Ngannou is set to be announced very soon, and I mean I don't really like it, to be completely honest. I feel like I've voiced my opinions on this quite a bit already, but of course I don't really like it, and there's nothing really more you can do except accept it, I feel like, at this point. And I suppose we'll get to see Ngannou given his chance at a boxing fight and making a lot of money, but still, either way, not the best for, I don't think the best for actual boxing, to be completely honest. But moving on, the WBC have ordered Martin versus Prograis. So of course, if the Prograis versus Haney fight don't happen, it seems like Martin will be next. And to be completely honest, I feel like the Haney fight probably will happen. I feel like that is likely to happen because it seems like Haney isn't wanting to fight Stevenson, so it seems like he does want to move up in weight. Stanionis versus Ortiz Jr. won't be rescheduled for any time in the foreseeable future. I feel like there'll have to be at least a couple more fights, and that really does put a halt on the welterweight division. I mean, I'll speak a bit more about that in a moment when we speak about the result for Ennis, but either way, it does put a halt to the welterweight division because at that point there's Thurman versus Ugas, like I said, but it's not a massive fight, and it does kind of mean that there's less big fights about, with the likes of a Stanionis and an Ortiz Jr. not really being about, especially an Ortiz Jr. And I suppose Stanionis can get still big fights, but it's just going to take even more time. Gribbs is set to fight Gallagher. Hernandez won by TKO round 3 versus Montez. Rodriguez drew versus Gonzalez. Pacheco won by TKO round 4 versus Galejos to remain WBC USA and WBO International Super Middleweight Champion. I liked this fight. I think it was a very good performance by Pacheco. I think he is improving with each fight. I think he just needed a couple rounds to get into it, and I think he is getting better at counter punching, and he is getting better when he is under pressure now, and that's something that definitely does come with experience, and it's good to see that he's been able to gain this experience and still look good in the process. Muhammad won via TKO round 3 versus Bruno. Flemings Jr. won via TKO round 3 versus Rivera. Torres won via TKO round 3 versus Evans. Calderno won via TKO round 1 versus Townsell. Taylor won via unanimous decision versus Gomez. Los Santos won via unanimous decision versus Adorno to remain WBC Continental American Lightweight Champion. Ennis won via KO in round 10 versus Villa to remain IBF Interim World Welterweight Champion. And I mean, talking of somebody that's improving with every fight, Ennis is that person, and now he is the main face of the welterweight division, I think, at the moment, because like I've said, I think Crawford versus Spence, I feel like both of them are going to move up in weight after their fights, and so I have a feeling then it's just Ennis. And of course, if Ortiz Jr. also isn't about, then it's just Ennis, and if he probably will end up fighting Stanionis next, and possibly Thurman after his fight, but he is the guy, and the fact that he managed to get Villa out in such an emphatic way, the fact that nobody's done that before, and the fact that Villa has managed to do that to other opponents, but of course, like I said, never had that happen to him. It was so impressive and really showed his ability, and shows that he does have that kind of golfing class compared to the rest of the top contenders in this division. I think he is just that much higher of a level, and like I said, he is improving every time, so it is just so impressive, and it will be interesting to see where he goes next. Like I said, it probably will be Stanionis from the sounds of it, but I suppose it's not a huge fight. I don't think it's going to sell loads. It won't be as big as an Ortiz Jr. fight, but of course we can't get that. So I suppose we'll have to wait and see what really goes on with the welterweight division. I don't think it's in the best of states at the moment, but Ennis is that shining light at the moment, bar, of course, Spence Jr. versus Crawford. I'm not forgetting about them, of course. Fulgham won by TKO in round 3 versus Kittrite. Cal Kruth won via TKO in round 2 versus Jones. Tudor won via unanimous decision versus Harris Jr. Schofield won via unanimous decision versus Rose. Diaz won via unanimous decision versus Perez. And Esparza won by majority decision versus Alaniz to become a WBA, WBC and WBA World Flyweight Champion. I forgot to say who I thought would win each one. NSC, I got that right. Esparza, I think I got that right. I can't really remember, to be completely honest. I feel like that probably should have been the main event. I would have liked to see that as the main event. I think it was a good fight that was built up nice, and I suppose Schofield is that kind of big prodigy type name, and I mean he put up a good performance himself, credit to him, but I would have liked to see the Esparza one main event. Either way, good performance from Esparza, another win for her, and retaining the belts, gaining another belt I believe in the process, and hopefully more big flyweight top fights for her. Moving on now to the UFC news. Jones will fight Miocic on the 11th of November. So, I mean, UFC does it a bit different. They announce their fights very early on. But it is good to see that fight is happening. I feel like in this point in Jones's career, whoever he faces, it just needs to be necessary. And I think Miocic isn't exactly like amazingly on top of the world right now, but I think he's a necessary fight. He is tipped to be one of, if not the best heavyweight of all time in the UFC, and so even if he's not in his prime, that's not really a problem for Jones, because he still needs to, if he's going to prove that he himself is the best heavyweight, and not just the best light heavyweight, the best heavyweight, and also cementing himself as the possible GOAT of the whole UFC ever, then he needs to have these fights against the people that are tipped to be the best. Even if they are past their prime a little bit, they still need to be dealt with in an impressive fashion. And if he goes and wins this fight with complete comfort, complete ease, like he did in his last fight, then that's it. I would say that's cementing himself as the GOAT, in my opinion, and I feel like in a lot of people's opinion, if they have not already said that, because of it, just such a legacy defining thing. And then if he wins that one, I'm not going to write off Miocic, to be completely honest. I feel like a lot of people will, but I won't. But if Jones does win that one, I feel like there's not a bar Pavlovich. I'd like to see a Pavlovich fight, because I don't think there's really been anyone in the heavyweight division that's come through like Pavlovich has, just got KO, early KO after early KO in a long time. And I feel like he is the only real big left option for Jones, and then if he wins that, then to be fair, if he wins against Miocic, he can happily retire, and I wouldn't hate it. But if he also wants another fight after that, Pavlovich, I would also love that fight as well. But for the moment, we just got to enjoy Jones while he's still about and still having these big fights. Aldo is in the Hall of Fame. Menifield won via submission round 2 versus Crute. Crute has then retired. Gomez won via KO in round 1 versus Jarigu. Tyra won via decision versus Chares. Lawler won via KO in round 1 versus Price. Lawler has then retired, but that was a very impressive victory for his last fight, and it was, like all the people were saying, he doesn't really show much emotion, Lawler, but when he does, and the fact he was crying and everything, it was getting me quite sad. I wasn't like going to be tearing up or anything, but it was getting me quite sad, and I was like, oh yeah, no, it shows how difficult, when he was walking around the ring and he was like taking it all in, and he was like, this was his moment, this was his last defining moment, and it was just like coming to such a big end to such a big career. It looked like it was a lot, and credit to Lawler. I mean, of course, he managed to get that great victory and a great career in general as well, and he will be missed in the sport. Nickel won by KO in round 1 versus Woodburn. Another great performance for him, another dominating performance for him. Hooker won by decision versus Turner. That was a very good fight in general, just a great entertaining fight, and I feel like people did underestimate Hooker, and he managed to get that win. But people also underestimated Du Plessis, who won by KO in round 2 versus Whittaker. And I mean, I underestimated him as well, to be completely honest, but I feel like you can't really underestimate him now, and it is so nice to see a little bit more differential in the middleweight division now. I'm not trying to slander Whittaker or anything, but it's just nice to see that little bit of a difference in the middleweight division, a new option. I'm sure Adesanya is happily welcoming that new option into the division, and it was a very impressive victory as well. And like I said, you can't sleep on him, especially when he is winning fights against proven top top fighters like Whittaker in the way that he did. Pantoja won via decision versus Moreno to become UFC flyweight champion, and like I said, I predicted that one bang on. I thought that would be the case. Didn't get the Whittaker one right, but I got this one right, and I thought Pantoja would just be too much for Moreno, and he beat him already in the professionals, and again I think beat him in the amateurs as well, Pantoja, and so now beat him again. It is like that Adesanya moment. Moreno, I don't know if he's going to get another shot again. Maybe because the flyweight division is not that stacked at the moment, maybe. But I feel like there might be another fight for Pantoja before the Moreno one comes back in again. But it wouldn't surprise me also if they put Moreno versus Pantoja again, just because it is quite a big fight for that division. And like I said, there's not many around at the moment. But either way, congratulations to Pantoja. Volkanovski won via KO in round 3 versus Rodriguez to remain UFC featherweight champion. And another great performance from Volkanovski, and I feel like he definitely could have gone into this fight and maybe been a little bit poor and not shown his best and just been like thinking like, oh, I want to get back to these top level fights, and just about kind of drifting through this fight, and he didn't. He really put on a good performance, a good showing, and what was necessary, and shows that he, in my opinion, is the best featherweight in the UFC ever. And I feel like in a lot of people's opinion now, he is the best featherweight in the UFC, and another great performance to shut out another top contender. And also Edwards is set to fight Covington in either UFC 294 or 295. And yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you didn't, like, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.